How much time do you have to take some good positions before Bitcoin starts to run away from you? Well, let's talk about the Bitcoin 4-year halving. And as promised in the description of this video, I did make a prediction back in 2021 about where the bottom of this next cycle might be. So let me frame that here first. I went through and I started looking at each halving and doing some, kind of rough counts of how many days between the halving and the top, which is the green line, and then from the, to the bottom, which is a red line, and then we got another halving, was a purple line. And, I started noticing, the 4-year cycle that everyone talks about is really 210,000 blocks that Bitcoin rewards have, but it happens about every 4 years, is, somewhat predictable. So as you can see here, take a closer look at this chart and you will see that this is not drawn in yet. We are in between November of 21 and May of 22 at this point. And right here, we are dumping it still in 2021. And I'm considering two things here. One is a lengthening cycle, in which case we could have another top out in May, and that would put the bottom out in February of 2023. And one was that this was the top here in the fall, and in that case, the bottom, the bear market, bottom would be somewhere after September of 2022, or after. So that was kind of the range that I was focused in on. I'm like, all right, well, the bottom is bound to be somewhere between those two dates. And I even put a note here to myself, like, hey, this is when the bear market bottom should happen. And somewhere in here, I'm going to want to start buying regularly again and establishing my positions. I was kind of leaning towards the fact that there would not be another top in May, so I sold about half of my position here, when things were kind of topping out in the fall of 2021, and I held half just in case I was wrong. Quality projects, I held half, that in case there was another top here to sell into, I would have some to sell into that as well. Otherwise, it was stuff that I felt comfortable holding for about 4 years, because I figured if there wasn't a top out here, and I didn't think there would be, that I would have to hold on to that stuff for 4 years for it to come back. But I sold into a lot here, so I was not feeling too bad about things at that point. How did I do? Well, I took this same chart out. With the lines are in the same spots they were before. So the only thing different here is the rest of the price action gets drawn in for us, because now more time has elapsed. And about a year later, I took out this same chart with the same lines that I had before and said, okay, how was my prediction? I predicted somewhere between September and February would be the bear market bottom. Okay. And as you can see here in November, the FTX dump happened right around in here somewhere as well. So there was some news. I don't think we would have came, much lower than 20 without some of the macro stuff that happened last year with the contagion and all of that stuff. But I still think that this would have been the bottom based on the timing and the time, based on other cycles and the timing from the halving to the top, to the bottom, to the next halving, to the top, etc. It tends to be pretty predictable, not to a day, not to a specific week, but to a range here that I was able to dial in and say, it's going to be between here, and it's somewhere in here, I'm going to start buying again. And lo and behold, what happened? And yes, I did start buying again. And yes, I'm planning to sell into the projected top in 2025. I'm not going to try to hit the top, but I'm going to be in profit in just about every position that I'm in 2025. And that's the time frame I'm on, really. I can sit on anything I buy today until 2025. So we'll just zoom in. I made lots of notes here. You don't have to read all this. There's a lot of it just notes to myself and stuff, but what we're focused in on is right here. This is where the bottom happened, and my prediction was it was here or here. somewhere in between there. I made that prediction a year before this happened. And I'm not saying I'm special, I mean, a lot of people kind of predicted that the bottom would be in there somewhere. This was just me kind of doing my own version of what some other people were doing. So let's look at the roadmap going forward. History only helps you out so much, right? You want to know what to do right now. So I'm laying out a Bitcoin roadmap for you right here, right now. And the way I kind of position this to myself, and I know what my risk tolerance is. I don't know what your situation is, what your risk tolerance is, etc. But assuming, anyone that's able to hold until at least 2025 or even into 2024, really, I think there's still plenty of time to get good entries. Typically, as you approach the halving, you get what I like to refer to as excellent entries. It's dollar cost averaging is a term for a reason. You're just making weekly or monthly purchases during this time while the price is low, relatively speaking, to where it is projected to go after the halving. So what I did here is took our current time frame. So here we are in 2023 Q2. You are here, and I overlaid last bull run to it. So the bull run that topped out in 2021, and just said, okay, based on where that halving occurred, and in this case in May of 2020, and where things go from there, how would you play this? Well, you'd say, okay, you're DCAing into up to the halving, you're getting excellent entries. On the other side of the halving, I'd say you're getting still pretty good entries for maybe 4 to 6 months. Probably getting pretty good entries. Maybe not as good as pre-halving, but still getting pretty good entries. And this is whatever you like. Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. You like Ethereum, buy Ethereum. You like a meme coin, good luck. But you could hit big there, or you could lose big there. A lot more risk and reward there. But if you're talking about mainstream projects, Bitcoin or Ethereum, I personally like Cardano as well. Some things like that. I think you're talking about excellent entries versus still pretty good entries, right? Okay, well, let's take a look here. Now I say, as you get further away from that halving, I put a note here, buying here will get you wrecked unless you know what you're doing. You're probably exit liquidity for some whale somewhere at this point. Unless you really know what's going on with the project and you're okay with the risk, buying here is getting wrecked. Find opportunities to take profits. DCA out. I'm not going to try to hit the top. I'll just be selling into any pumps throughout this time frame as I can, as I see fit, right? So just like you DCA in, I'll be DCAing out. I will be getting out during this time when everything's in profit and everyone's talking about Bitcoin's going to go to the moon, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million, whatever stupid things people are saying at that time is great for me to get out. When everyone's talking about Bitcoin, when your Uber driver's talking about Bitcoin and your hairdresser's talking about Bitcoin, you might want to think about selling your Bitcoin and then buying back in during the next bottom of the next bear market, which, to that point, if you were to play the 4-year cycles, right, you're really looking at be 2029, no, 2025 would be like the top. So then you're going to crash, you're going to hit the bottom, about a year after that. So 2026, 2027, somewhere in there, you're going to start, buying in. And then, 2029 would be probably the projected next top, somewhere in there. So, we'll make a new roadmap for that when the time comes. But, I just decided to overlay it against the bull market prior to this most recent bull market as well. So assuming your halving's here, your halving is here, this purple line, and you are here, you're still getting good entries. And if you were buying up to the halving and then buying after the halving for a while, you're still getting really good entries still here after the halving. And then it starts to rip. And that's when you want to get out. So here was that top, 20 grand or whatever on this wick here. That was that top in the previous bull run. So the time after the halving is very, very similar in both cases. Now, in one, you had more of the hockey stick, right? And over here, you had kind of that double top, right? And then after this second top, it just fell through the floor, right? It still established support higher than it came into the bull market. It always does to this point in history. So could this next one look like a double bottom before it shoots up and breaks out? Could it be another hockey stick? Could it be another double top? Could it be a giant inverse head and shoulders where we rip up from there? There's some of these patterns that are starting to even form now. I think I've even heard talk of an inverse head and shoulders. I'll look into that in future videos. But this Bitcoin roadmap is a good way to plan. I am planning based on you are here, halving is here. Am I before the halving or after the halving? How close to either side of the halving am I on? I'm moving this red line up as I DCA in, and we've got some time before the next Bitcoin halving here in probably late Q1 or early Q2 of 2024. That date's sliding around a little bit, so I'll be moving this purple thing around as we get closer. Right now, it's close enough. I'm not that worried about it right now. We've still got enough time to the halving that I'm not really tracking this purple one, but as we get closer, I'll make sure this one's looking more accurate. I can even blow up some of these quarters into specific months as we get closer if that helps. But in any event, what do you think? Do you have a roadmap? Do you have a plan? Do you like this plan? Do you think this plan sucks? Tell me about how this plan sucks in the comments below. Tell me how awesome this plan is in the comments below. Tell me your plan in the comments below. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. And once again, thanks for stopping by Modern Moneymakers. This is Jeremy.